Hey everyone, we are back with another episode of our podcast. We're the Football Tailgaters, and we talk everything about the NFL. As usual, as always, I have here with me Yams, the Jets fan, Andy the unbiased NFL fan, and myself, Aaron, the Cowboys fan. We have Week 15 down. We had a lot of crazy games going down, a lot of controversy as usual, I think. Cowboys losing, big upset against the Jags, Jets also losing against the Lions. Tough week, I guess, here for, the Cowboys and Jets. But for our topics today, we're going to go over the AFC Wildcard Playoffs and who's going to be in it. And then we'll also talk about the possibility of the NFL being rigged after what we saw Sunday night with the Giants and Commanders. And then, we start this whole thing with our mini headlines. We'll go over those mini headlines, including all kinds of crazy games that happened this past Sunday. And then, our Week 16 previews. We'll go over that at the very end. So, guys, let's start off with the AFC Wildcard Playoffs. So, before I hand off the question to you guys so you guys can answer, let me just state right here who is in it right now and who's, I guess, what they're calling it here on the NFL website, because that's where I'm looking at it from, who's on the bubble. So we got in the AFC, two teams already clinched, the Bills and the Chiefs. So that's pretty much done deal, right? And then we got the in the hunt, where it's still in the playoffs, that if, let's say, the season ended right now, they're in the playoffs, right? But anything can happen. There's still 2 more weeks left, right? 2, 3? Is it week 17, 18?
Yeah,
I
we
forget,
have 3 weeks
they added
left.
one more game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 3 weeks left. There you go. So we got the Bengals, the Titans, Ravens, Chargers, Dolphins. Those guys are considered in the hunt. And then on the bubble, we have plenty of teams left, with the Patriots still having a chance. The Jets, Jaguars, Raiders, Browns, Steelers, and Colts. So after I name off those teams, right, you guys can take a little bit to think about what we have going on here and who's going to be in the AFC Wildcard Playoffs. We already mentioned the clinch playoff spots, which is Bills and Chiefs. But who's going to be in the wildcard spots for AFC, guys? What do you think? We'll start with you, Yams.
I originally said that the New York Jets would probably be in the 7th seed, but just knowing how they've been playing lately, it's not going to happen. I think what's going to happen is Miami makes it in as a 7th seed, and we're going to see Miami in the playoffs with Tua.
Yeah, the AFC is way harder than the NFC, honestly. But if I have to choose right now, I have the Chargers and the Ravens taking on in the wild card, as well as Miami Dolphins. The Jets, I still think that they need a lot of work to get in there because of their quarterback.
It is tough, and I agree with the same point that Andy made. Although I'm my confidence on the Ravens, I think they're the weakest team right now that's qualifying for the wild card spot. So, but I still have them going to the wild card playoffs.
Yeah, and it's all because of their record, right?
Yes, all because of the record. Right. They're 9-5, and the competition's tough, like you said, in the AFC. Not as bad as the NFC, but I could see the playoffs winding down just like how you mentioned it. So yeah, I full on agree with what you just said. But I mean, who's the one, I guess, out of these teams that we were just mentioning, right? Who's the one I guess you guys see falling out? I guess who would trade from whoever's not in it right now to who could be in it? Do you guys see the Patriots?
No.
The Jets?
No. Yep.
After yesterday's debacle that the Patriots did, it was one of the worst plays I've ever seen. It didn't look like a Patriots type of play at all. It was horrendous.
We'll keep that for later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to ignore what just happened in that game. That crazy. One of the craziest games I think of this year. Jacksonville still in it after their big win versus the Cowboys. Very disappointed about that personally. And then you got the Raiders. They're not out of the question, right? The Browns as well. Deshaun Watson isn't playing all that great, but they have a chance, and they're going against the Ravens. So this is a very big deal, right?
Didn't they already play the Ravens last week?
The Raiders play Kansas City and San Francisco next. Ain't gonna happen.
No, yeah, right. Sorry. So I was seeing my past weeks, because they faced the Ravens, and then I forget who they have next. But it's I could see more so the Browns than the Steelers. But we're talking about slim chances, right? Because they're 6-8. It's because who has to fall out, right? Because you got the Titans; they're in first place in AFC South, and then right behind them are the Jaguars. 6-8.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking it could be. I don't know. I don't want to put anything on him. So I think it's gonna stick with Miami. I think it's gonna stick with Miami. Chargers are in. They have an easy schedule ahead. They have the Denver. They have Rams. They have the Colts. They're like it's a done deal with them. Chargers are in.
Chargers got the Colts next, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yes,
on a Monday.
They do.
On a, what is it, Monday night?
On a Monday night, but they have those are the three next for the next following 3 weeks.
Wow.
Denver and Rams and the Colts, and not in
Yeah.
that particular order. So they're pretty much in. The only one I could see that maybe could change could be between the Jets and the Miami team, because Patriots, they have faced the Bengals and they have to finish off the 2 games with Bills and Miami.
Right.
Yeah, that's hard.
That's a hard one.
Miami, I can see that they can struggle and be kicked out. I wouldn't be surprised in that. Even though they have offensive weapons, I wouldn't be too surprised in there. Put Jacksonville and Miami, like, who's better?
I don't know right now.
It's really close, if you ask me.
I have to say Miami.
I give the edge to Miami, right? Because of their roster, simply because of that. I think they have more offensive power.
Right.
But the Jaguars' defense is pretty good. I think it's a little bit slept on almost.
Is it that good? I don't think it's that good. I just think that they're probably just clicking, and this is what happens when you have a good coach and the team knows how to play good football in December. And that's kind of what's happening with the Jaguars and how they were able to show up the Cowboys. But I don't know if they're like that good, but I mean, we can give Trevor Lawrence
Miami
credit.
has had a streak of losses. They've been struggling like for weeks now.
But he's a rookie head coach.
Regardless.
Very tough games, though. Very tough games.
Close games, too.
Yeah, close games.
And this is you can consider this a first-year team where everything's kind of like I wouldn't say a fresh start, but they're trying to figure things out almost as if like they had a kind of like the Broncos situation with Hill in was a very big change, especially as well with, the whole coaching changes that they had. I could consider this being like this like first try of seeing how it goes, and they could definitely do better next year if they figure out their weaknesses and patch them up. But yeah, no, I think right now where they are, I don't think a lot of people expected them to be that high, right?
Right.
There wasn't that high much praise on them because they're like, oh, how is Tua going to pass to Hill? He doesn't have the arm strength. There's a lot of question marks on that team, and I think they were able to shush them for the majority. But right now they're not on a good streak, like you said. So
yeah, I was one of the ones that would bring Tua down in the offseason, and I drafted him in almost all my fantasy leagues. And it's just because of all that weaponry that he has. Like, they gave him so much weaponry, so he doesn't have to carry the team. But with these struggles, it seems that other teams have kind of like figured out ways of how to make him struggle. For example, he would always, one of the analysts or that I heard of, they made a really good point that they're taking away his side wide receivers because supposedly he's really good at those side throws. So they were making him throw in the middle, and that's where he struggles, and that's where he has usually his interceptions. And since then, it seems like that's some of the case, not all the time, but it looks like he's been struggling because of that. I know that last week against Buffalo in the cold, we all expected it was going to be super snowy and everything, even though it was really, really cold. I mean, he did play okay. I thought he was going to play worse, but it didn't come up with the win.
Yeah, it wasn't until that snow started pouring on the fourth quarter when you knew that that's it. This is done. Miami's done. There was no way that they were able to do. Everybody who talked about the weather that was going to impact Miami happened in the fourth quarter, and it happened. It impacted Miami, and they lost the game.
Right.
Their defense is ranked 23rd overall, with the passing game being ranked 29th in the league, and then the rushing being 10th. So the defense against the run, they do pretty good, but not so much on the air. So let's move on to this past Sunday night's game with the Giants and Commanders. Very, very controversial, to say the least, I guess. This win for the Giants just clinched the Cowboys' playoff spot, which is, I think, one of the most depressing way to
get in,
clinch a playoff spot.
Right.
I'm so disappointed in this team, but this is not going to be about them. But that's just a little pointer for now, right? The Cowboys clinch a playoff spot thanks to the Giants winning, but it was very controversial in the way they won. 2 big calls during that game. That they had the pass interference that was supposed to be a touchdown, right? Mm-hmm. Against the Commanders. And then the the pre-snap penalty with the illegal formation
mm-hmm.
with McLaurin, where I remember seeing the video because like it's just he checked on him twice with the referee, and it's just like, yeah, okay, I'm good, I'm set, right? Everything's good, and then they snap the ball and it's like, he's got the flag over there. No, it was just really bad. So we've had this mentioned a couple times in the podcast before with the NFL possibly being rigged. So what do you guys think after this Sunday night game with the Giants and Commanders, the two controversial calls? Do you guys think the NFL is rigged?
I think a lot of life is rigged, and I think definitely the NFL is rigged. If McLaurin checked with the NFL referee and said, "Hey, am I good?" and he's like, just a tiny bit move up, and you could see that he moved up just a bit, and he's like, "Am I good now?" and he gave him a nod, but he had his hand in the pocket, like it was predetermined or pre-negotiated, should I say, that he was going to throw the flag.
You don't think it was because it was just cold?
No. I think a lot of the stuff in the NFL is rigged. I did mention in this podcast the game that Mahomes played against the Bengals for the Super Bowl spot. I thought he played horribly, and like weirdly horribly, where he doesn't play that way. And obviously the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl champions. But yeah, for this game, I do think that there is negotiation that goes on with the owners and the refs. I don't know who else is involved, but yeah, things in life are rigged, and the NFL is definitely rigged. I wouldn't say all the games are, but it is. We live in a big world where we bet a lot, and sports gambling is such a big business now, and it seems to be only growing, and as states now allow it and unban it, so probably see a lot more of this.
I believe there was refs before that came out and said that it is sort of rigged, past in the 90s or 80s. So I'm sure it can continue. Now the level of riggedness, I think it's really hard because not all the players can be in on being it rigged. So it's just it comes down to some bad calls here and there, and to try to push it to sort of one way, but it can't ever go that way that they want it to all the time. So yeah, you can consider it rigged some situations, but I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with what Andy said more so on that. I think that, it has happened maybe in the past, and I don't know very much on the history on that, but it's always been this topic because of how many I guess very controversial calls that has happened in the years past. Especially, the first one that comes up right away is the Saints versus Rams. I think it was NFC Championship, right? Which is what sent the Rams into the Super Bowl. And then that's when
that was a blatant super pass interference, and they just didn't throw the flag.
And I don't blame NFL fans for thinking that it's rigged to that extent, because it was just, how do you miss those types of calls, right?
Right, in the very end. And I believe it was the Rams' first year to go to LA, but it's still really, really strange. Just the thought about just doing these calls. It's not like us, the fans, are just going to stop watching, right?
No, yeah, for sure. But, I mean, it's entertainment. It's what it is.
Right.
Right. And it's been in question, and it has been. And, you can even bring up those examples. Like, okay, we brought up the examples with Saints and Rams. Mm-hmm. And then there was I saw these mentions about when 9/11 happened. Right after that, the Patriots won the Super Bowl. And then right after Katrina happened, the Saints won the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So it's not crazy to think about it, but I just think it's just very funny and crazy, because nowadays there's just a lot of controversy, always these crazy theories being thrown around about all kinds of things, politics or not, right? And the internet just blows everything up, and it can create echo chambers, and it can make people believe that it is rigged because they keep seeing stuff in the media that makes them seem like it's rigged.
You said actually something that about the NFL being an entertainment business right now. And I read that the NFL is an entertainment business, and in legal terms that they can actually have the authority or the right to manipulate their own business because it's an entertainment, kind of like the wrestling. In other words, we all know it's rigged. We all know it's like an entertainment thing. It's all a script, but you still watch it for the entertainment. So you can't bet. I mean, the only thing that I can feel that it's a little bit iffy is that I don't know the rules, is that you you cannot bet on wrestling of who's gonna win. I don't think so. I don't know if that's correct, but you can't.
I did see that.
You can bet an NFL game, so that's when when money is involved, it can be a little like sticky situation.
Has that been like extensively researched on? Like, is that something fully confirmed to where they can legally fix it, or is there laws in place to where it's an entertainment, but let's say like, oh, you can fix it, but not to the extent to where everything is fixed, right? Like, oh, fix some things or something like that. Like, you're allowed to do that. You don't think there's any kind of like laws in place to stop that at all, to kind of balance it and not make it that obvious? And I don't know.
There's just a law that I'm reading here. It's a Sports Bribery Act of 1964. It only prohibits gambling related corruption. There is no federal law explicitly preventing the clandestine manipulation of a sports event to enhance suspense.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom. Follow the money. Follow the money and you'll have your answers.
But it's just really hard for each game for you to bet on who's going to win or not. Look, a lot of people said on this World Cup that Argentina was already set in place, that they were going to win. But are you telling me that it went to penalties really?
It was a great game.
It was a really good game, and it went to penalties. Right. How can you have that rigged with the penalty shootout?
Argentina did win.
I know they won, but the France players, are they in it? Are you telling me that they're in it because they're the ones that missed it?
No, I don't think everyone's in it, and I don't think every game is rigged. Obviously, with the NFL, I think it happens more often than not, though. With the NFL, it's not every game. It just depends on, the betting odds. Depends on the betting odds and which owners or which big whale has their money on what team, and they're gonna persuade someone or someone in the organization, hey, make this happen. Wasn't there a movie with Adam Sandler where he was paid to just play horribly?
Oh, the longest yard.
Yeah, the longest yard. Yeah, he took the money. He felt like crap because just throw away the game.
Yeah. Now you could say that maybe it's fixed, but in very small ways where it could create a chain of events. Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Let's say like it's not like the whole game and a lot of people are in it. We could say like maybe
one person,
a few people are in it. Yeah, one person. Maybe I could totally believe that, right? Because everything has its issues. But we see this all around in a lot of sports. A lot of when it comes to officiating games of whatever it is. You see this in a lot of sports, and there's a lot of really bad calls, and I just think it's just part of like just human imperfections of just miss really bad things because if you're put in that spot, you would struggle.
Not human imperfection. Those bad calls. Those are negotiated, especially if it's really obvious. It's not imperfection. It's bad calls that were negotiated, and I don't think everyone is involved. Obviously, you're right. It's like one or two people because if there's too many hands in the pot, eventually you're gonna get caught. Patriots cheating and whatnot. So yeah, I don't.
The way I see it is there's a lot of people, so there's a lot of different perspectives. So maybe a referee can see a rule differently from another referee, and that's why there's sometimes arguments between them. And that's where there's collision of maybe certain calls going one way or the other. That's the way I see it.
So you're saying that not all referees or officials are in it?
No, what he's saying, each of them have a different perspective of what they saw, so they argue they're what they saw. So that's in Aaron's way, it's not cheating because it's perspective.
Well, right now we have the NFL just keeps expanding their reviews. I believe,
but then they expanded the pass interference, and then they retracted that because it was just way too complicated. Because the referees were okay, this referee saw it one way, but then in another game they saw it this way, and then you have after the games. They have the officiating people say like, oh, we really messed up on this play. This play was actually supposed to be called this way.
Yeah, and honestly, in every play, you can see holding on every single play. There's going to be holding in every single play. There's going to be pass interference in every single play. No, that's just how the game works. It just has to be very blatant and very hardcore for the flag to be thrown. It's going to be pass interference. Yep. Of course, the cornerback's going to touch the wide receiver. It cannot be without touching the wide receiver. On blocking offensive linemen, blocking the defensive lineman. Of course, they're going to hold them in some way, shape, or form. but it's just not enough to make it too much. Now, officials, what they have to get correctly is that they're not consistent on the calls that they make, because sometimes it's like a really like a small touch for the cornerback touching the wide receiver, and that's in pass interference. Or the holding call, it wasn't too much of a holding call. It just barely like hold him for like a second, and that's the flag right there. So that's the problem that we have, in my opinion, that it's not consistent. And yeah, we're gonna have some games that the officials just throw these flags, but I again, I'm not gonna be worrying too much about it, because there's just too much evidence of how the game can just go and be a blowout, or it's a free catch without any interference. It has to be. I guess you can even say it puts a little bit more pressure on the teams to play harder in order to not be in those situations that the game is on the line for one play. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you guys. It's just basically, how can I put it? It's scripted reality TV.
No, for example, you're the Jets fan. Yesterday, came down to...
Someone's not in the team's favor, so go ahead.
I know we're going to speak a little bit about the Jets, but I just want to make this example. The game came to one last play in order for them to get close for a field goal. So don't give the officials or the refs the situation that they can ruin your game because you just have one more play. So there's blame to go on the Jets for being in that situation.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Makes
because
sense.
Even if it's rigged or not rigged, the official can just mess up too and not see the play, or just throw the flag. And yeah, you don't want to be in those situations. I'll end it there.
No, yeah, and I understand that perspective, and I pretty much agree with what you said too.
So sorry. So if it's rigged,
Mm-hmm.
does that mean the Buffalo Bills are not allowed to win a Super Bowl?
Oh.
Okay.
Whoa.
All right. Anyways, why don't we move on into the mini headlines? We had plenty of games going on. You know, speaking of controversy and crazy endings, why don't we start with the Patriots versus Raiders wild ending, with the fourth quarter coming down to the very end, 24-24. It came down, who was it? Stevenson was running down, and then eventually he just tossed it back to Jacoby Myers, who then absolutely launched it across back to, I think, Mac Jones. But the pass was short, and Chandler Jones catches the ball from the Raiders. He catches the ball, shaves off a tackle, and takes it all the way back for a touchdown. The clock was at 0. It was the fourth quarter. The game was tied. They could have gone to overtime. Jacoby Myers tried way too hard for something that they could have just fixed later. So let's talk about that. What do you guys think of the Patriots' disastrous ending?
Well, there you go. You summed that up. It's a disaster ending to a game. Could it be that maybe Stevenson was paid to throw such a ball? I mean, that's so weird.
You mean Myers?
Well, no. It started with Stevenson to throw it back to Myers. He could have just went down with the, the clock was at 0. So that's just weird. Just go to overtime.
It was just a boneheaded move, a completely boneheaded. One of the crazy things, and just shows you how dysfunctional the Patriots are going into having Matt Patricia being the offensive coordinator and calling plays. Like it's just horrible, and the Patriots are not themselves anymore. We have to put that into a realization. I
think we saw a lack of discipline and Bill Belichick losing grip on these players. And man, I don't want to be on the other side of Jacoby Myers, being him right now, and having Bill Belichick. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, what kind of punishment he'll receive. I definitely don't want to be Jacoby Myers in this situation. And I think it's definitely something, kind of a hint of what the Patriots might be going through right now.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do with Myers? He's like your best wide receiver, right?
Right.
No, right, for sure. You can't just bench him.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell happened there. I think it's those two bozos that are running the offense. I think it's both of them. I think it's
even though it's special teams.
No,
it wasn't special teams. I'm sorry. It just looked like a special teams play.
Joe Judge and Matt Patricia are running things together, and they're messing it up.
And Belichick is just letting it happen. And Josh McDaniels showed Bill Belichick who's the guy now.
Well,
yeah, because in the first quarter they were up. Yeah. First half they were up.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, it was 17-3, and then it hit halftime. New England scored 10 unanswered points in the third quarter. And in the final quarter, that's when we saw, I guess, most points by both teams with 11 with New England and Raiders with 13 and ended up being the 24-30 we're seeing right now.
It was a really weird game because even when Derek Carr threw that touchdown, I felt that he stepped on a little bit on the white line, that he was out, but they ruled it a catch.
Well, for me, in my opinion, you can call that in or out. It's kind of like in football and soccer that the ball looks like it's out of bounds, but it's inbounds when it goes out.
True, but it's not soccer here.
No, I know it's not soccer, but you need conclusive evidence to turn the call or reverse the call. And there wasn't any. We didn't see any shots that would give you conclusive evidence that his foot was touching the line.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just a weird thing to do at the end. It's so weird. It's so unpatriotic way. And it's not. It's like a complete opposite to what Belichick
It's so they're always so conservative.
It's so concerning. This is what I'm saying. It's so weird sometimes. Yeah. And it might have been rigged. I'm just saying. Just gonna,
I don't think players are, and no. I think it was just a boneheaded thing that they wanted.
It happens. It happens. Yeah. There's a lot of dumb stuff you see happening in these plays, and it's just sometimes he was just trying to be a hero. He literally admitted in the interview he was just trying too hard on something that he shouldn't have, and he should have just let the game go to overtime.
Or maybe he was weirded out when Stevenson threw him the ball. I was like, "Oh, we're doing this." Maybe I didn't hear the play,
and he panicked.
Yeah, and I panicked, and I threw it, and I just don't. I'm not a quarterback. I just lunged it, and boom, it got taken off. That's something that could happen, honestly. But there's, like Aaron said, there's a lot of dumb situations that happen.
True.
I mean, look at the Colts against the Vikings. Look at the Falcons against the New England in the Super Bowl.
What a disaster! What a disaster of a game for the Colts. They were up 33 at half, only to lose it, only to score only 3 additional points.
Biggest comeback in NFL history.
Vegas doesn't want Matt Ryan to win.
Yes, that's something against them.
You're probably right. They want to happen. They want that score to happen twice to him.
I wonder how he's feeling right now.
Poor guy. Like, PTSD just came back.
Part of history twice.
Exactly. It's insane.
Not in a good way.
No, you're gonna be on the books that way. Jeez.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
At least you're in the books.
Right. With the Patriots losing, this still opens up a door for the Jets to possibly have a playoff spot. But they botched it by losing to Detroit Lions by 3 points with Zach Wilson under the helm as the main quarterback because Mike White was out. It was kind of an in and out situation. He seemed like he was going to play, but then they decided, no, he's not going to play. Zach Wilson's taken over. And he didn't actually play that bad. But it wasn't enough to keep the Lions away. 20-17 victory. Is Zach Wilson to blame for the Jets' loss?
No, he's not to blame for the Jets' loss. The blame for the Jets' loss is probably the defense and clock management at the end.
Yeah, well, I do put some percentage blame on Zach Wilson because he just didn't throw those easy passes to not put him in that situation. Again, I go back to don't put your team into a last-minute play so you can try to win the game or tie it to go into overtime. So I do have a small percentage on Zach Wilson because he did get them to be able to have another chance to win the game. But also the clock management with the timeouts was just horrendous. I give that more fault to Robert Salah.
Yeah, I think I give it more to the game plan than Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson did make mistakes. He didn't throw the ball all that great. 18 for 35. He did have an interception as well. He did have 2 touchdowns though. But the running game, where was it, right?
Non-existent.
Non-existent. It's just, it came down to the game plan. And, like I said, I've mentioned this before, whenever you have a great defense, most of the times, those defenses aren't always going to play up. Well, not most of the times. Let me reword that. It's when you have a great defense, they're not always going to play great all the time, most of the time. So what I'm trying to say basically is, the Jets have a great defense, but they couldn't hold up in this game. And it's just, it happens. It happens to the Cowboys. It could happen to even, the 49ers. They've had troubles as well. But yeah, this comes down to the game plan.
This comes down to the game plan, and it comes down to the coach at the end when he didn't use those timeouts. Zach Wilson didn't play great, but he also didn't play that bad. But I'm like just Andy said, he can't make the easy throws. There's one that for Barrows, he was right open. He just sells it. I don't know what he does. He just just misses.
Yeah, you feel like you yourself can make that throw.
Yeah, even I can make that throw. Just any type of pressure, he just panics. And when he throws the ball, too, he throws it like a million miles per mile. Just the wide receivers, 7 yards from you. You don't have to throw it so hard.
He throws bullets.
Yeah, and so that's something he needs to
learn. The
learn.
way he heaves it is pretty funny. I think I like the way he throws. It's cool, but man, it's almost like too aggressive sometimes.
Yeah, he's got an arm for sure. It's just he doesn't
Which
know how
is
to.
awesome.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to manage that arm.
Yeah, that interception, I think it was in the third quarter.
Right,
He just
yeah.
heaved it and
Yeah.
overthrew it, right? Or I think it was underthrown, right? I don't remember. Which
Yeah,
one
it was
but
overthrown
it was
and
boneheaded.
yeah, and it was on the other side. Like you're giving the Detroit Lions points.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I think the play calling kind of went conservative.
It was underthrown.
Yeah.
For sure.
You don't want to lose the game because of you, and that's why I do give him a percentage that he did lose the game.
Oh yeah.
You think so? Well,
Yes.
he did
He
throw.
was part of the problem.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, of course.
I wish him and
That's why-
Mike White could just merge as one.
Well, there you would have your quarterback, but
Yeah. But he threw one where it almost got intercepted, but Michael Carter was able to catch it. He just forced it up there. I don't know if any of you guys saw that, but Michael Carter saved an interception. It wasn't even going for him.
well, you see, that would have been another one.
Yes. I don't know. I hate being a Jets fan.
Both teams. It's almost like the defense wasn't really existent for both teams. They went over for 300 plus yards, both sides, and there was only one turnover. It was that interception from Wilson.
True.
It was a tough loss, and it's a game that I think the Jets definitely needed for a more comfortable playoff spot here to get a wild card. But
It ain't gonna happen.
it is what it is.
They ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna show up.
I still think the spot that they're in is a lot better, and they just need to fix some stuff, and they'll be in better hands next season.
For sure.
What about the Lions? Now we'll switch sides instead of the Jets. The Lions. Man, I think it was a tweet. I saw that someone pointed out a stat that the Lions, I think, were 1-6, and then they ended up winning. Oh my God, what was it? What was the stat? It was they won like 7 in a row, right, or something like that. They went like 7-1 or something. They were 1-6, and then they ended up being 7-1 right after. This team, I think, one of the biggest turnarounds by far in the NFL this season. Dan Campbell, I think, is doing a great job. The defense obviously needs work, but that offense is really special. And, there's some questions maybe, I don't know, about Jared Goff. Who knows, right? But are the Lions legit after their win against the Jets?
I mean, it's the Jets. I don't know if that's legit, but what you can say is, I don't know, because if you look at all the other games, they were kind of able to score up the score rate. They're a high-scoring team. They have all this offensive weapons, but they weren't able to do that with the Jets. It wasn't a blown coverage when they, C.J. Mosley didn't see that tight end Brock, whatever his name is, and he got into the touchdown. So are they in the right direction? Yes. But are they one of the greatest teams? No. Are they going to make the playoffs? Probably not.
I think it's impressive that they've been winning so many games. I know it was against the Jets, but the Jets have a top 5 defense in my opinion. So I think the Lions are legit, and if they get into the playoffs, I don't think they'll go too far. But for next future seasons, they're in a really good road.
With the Jets defense, I think it is impressive because the Jets defense has been great this year, and I think it is something for them to give some credit to. I think the Lions deserve credit. I wouldn't call them legit.
They played a Jets defense where Quinnen Williams was not. He was out. He's the best defensive player on the team.
No, yeah, and I definitely think there was a big factor to it, but Quinnen Williams isn't the Jets defense.
Agreed.
Right? There's more to it.
Yeah.
It's
and
like
I
the
wouldn't
Cowboys.
just give
What do you mean? It's
No.
like the Cowboys without Micah Parsons.
No,
it's
that
like the
is-
best.
No,
you take,
my
gosh,
you
you're
take
just
the
comparing,
best.
you're
I'm
just
not
comparing.
comparing.
No,
Can
no,
you?
no,
Can
Can
no.
we stop with the O's and the O's and the ooh? I'm not comparing Quinnen Williams like with Micah Parsons. I'm just saying you take the best player from that team.
I thought the best player was Sauce Gardner.
No, it's Quinnen Williams.
I think it's Sauce Gardner.
I think it's Sauce,
He shuts down the wide receivers. And look what happened. I
Number
told you
ones are
that they were gonna move St. Brown, their Detroit's best wide receiver, into the slot.
Right.
And that's exactly what they did. And they just put in Sauce Gardner. He's just into other
Reynolds,
wide
I don't know
receivers.
who's covering, but
Mm-hmm.
no. Well, okay, this is my opinion. This is my show, so I think Quinnen Williams is the best player on the defense. Not Sauce Gardner. He's good, but I think Quinnen Williams is the best one. He has records and records of sacks. I don't know how much, but he's been playing off the chains here. He is the reason why this defense is so good.
Too much to count.
I think he has. Yeah, he does. He is a big percentage there. That he helps with that defense.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't say if he is out that's basically it just changes the whole defensive scheme and they're not as good as they are. I think with him
I
out.
saw that they really missed him. But hey,
Yeah.
it's my opinion, so do whatever you want with your.
So let's shift back a little bit more to the Lions because aside from that win against the Jets, they've won against Minnesota. You can call them frauds or not, but after that big comeback they had against the Colts,
It's the Colts.
you know, it's it's still impressive nonetheless. They should have been out of that game ages ago, and they came back. So they had that, and then they had a good win against New York, which they're not a terrible team, but they're not great either. Then they had a win against Green Bay, which I think is another significant one. I don't think the Green Bay is awful either. But they did lose, big games against contenders like Buffalo, Miami, Dallas. Then they lost. They got shut out by New England. So they're not legit yet, but they're on their way. That's what I'm going to end on that one.
Agreed.
Yep. So let's move on to the Cowboys, who, oh boy, I don't even know where to start with this. They had a tough loss. It was a tough loss against Jaguars. Very, very frustrating. I think I was personally very upset against what the defense was able to do, and also a little bit of the play calling. But the defense, man, it was just not there. And also some little bit of boneheaded play calling for the offense, which, again, it goes back to whenever they get the run game going, they shy away from it in their most key moments where they should keep going. So the Cowboys end up losing to the Jaguars in a surprising upset. It's very upsetting, but are the Cowboys pretenders in the NFC? What do you guys think?
They're not. They're a little bit of both. They're contenders, pretenders, whatever they are. They're a little sus. They're suspicious. They make you think they're gonna be the Super Bowl winners, but then they play teams like the Jaguars and the Texans, and you're like, what the hell am I watching? What team is this? Who are you? And they just blow it up. I don't know if it's like the coaching or is it Dak or is it Kellen Moore, but something needs to change because it seems like this is ongoing for many, many years.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's just the same old Dallas Cowboys. That's the problem. They're not consistent. There's always some issue. Either they stick away from the running game, which has been working for them in that game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then they moved away from it, and then they started losing. They started making Dak throw, and that's when they start struggling. We have Dak with interceptions, and the defense, I mean, they didn't play as good as they have been before, but I think they did a really good job. They had some turnovers which that helps a lot. So that's just the same old Cowboys, and yeah, they are sort of pretenders to go to the Super Bowl. But this is the best chance for them to get to the Super Bowl because there's not that many good teams in the NFC.
Agreed. I think that's one point I want to jump on as well. This is their opportunity to strike when a lot of the NFC teams are at their weakest. Where are the Buccaneers are non-existent? Tom Brady's out. I think personally, right? But we jump back to the Cowboys. It's always coming down to self-inflicted wounds, and they'll never learn their lesson. Jerry Jones will never learn his lesson. It's always coming down to self-inflicted wounds. They need to fix it, and they won't, and they'll always suffer the same consequences. And it'll be the same year, same team, same everything. That's what it seems like to me. And I really don't want to say it, but nobody, and I mean nobody, would be surprised if there were first-round exits. Because they're not clinching. I mean, they got the Eagles coming up, and it's just been reported that Jalen Hurts is not going to play. He's most likely not going to play against the Cowboys this Christmas Eve, which is a big deal, and it will make a difference. Minshew's, he's debatable on whether he can hold up that spot, but it's something crucial. They'll definitely not be able to clinch up. What's it called? The NFC East.
That would really suck if Jalen Hurts doesn't play, because the Eagles played against Dallas Cowboys backup Cooper Rush, and now the Dallas are going to play against the Eagles backup. That's just not fair. I really want to go see
who's the backup?
Gardner Minshew.
Oh, okay.
Gardner Minshew.
So
it would suck if the Cowboys lost to that too.
Oh
my gosh! All right.
I'm just saying it would suck. You guys, But what you said, they will be. You would not be surprised if they were getting eliminated in the first round of the playoffs.
That's what Aaron said. Yeah.
Okay. Well, they play Tampa Bay. If it stands that they.
Who wants to face Tom Brady? Even though they're not playing that well, who wants to face him in the playoffs? I don't think anybody would like to face him.
I don't think the Dallas Cowboys will lose against Tampa Brady.
Oh,
I think there's a
I
really
feel like
good
you say
chance.
this against a bunch of teams and then they end up losing to them.
Yeah, that's very true.
Oh, so should I just
don't
say
count 'em out.
should I say they win against hard teams and they lose against sucky teams? What's going on here? Like I can't. What's this? The Cowboys need to have
thought that
some
the Houston
consistency
was
here.
well, yeah, that's what they're really bad at, being consistent, and it's always been a thing for them for oh my gosh, who knows how long. It's
For the 20 years that I've been watching him.
Why have you been watching them 20 years, Andy? That's weird.
Well, I watch football. I see a whole bunch of NFL games, and I've seen their debacles. They're always on the ESPN or any sports channels. They're always talking about them.
They're so annoying.
It gets old.
Ugh.
Yeah, it gets old. And I see them that they are good, and then they're bad, but then they lose in the most weirdest ways, and it's just so weird. So yeah,
for sure.
I'm
But
used
we
to it.
see these teams, we see these good teams. Now we say, yeah, okay, they struggle against Houston, they struggle against Colts. Okay, but the Vikings struggle against Colts.
The
Chiefs struggled against Houston.
Yeah.
Come on. No, this is just NFL being NFL.
Rigged.
You'll never you never know what to expect. These teams that are supposed to outperform these, below 500 teams, and then they get stunned because again, like I would be in the same mindset. It is possible. I could totally see like the team being like, "Oh, it's a sucky team. This is an easy win, whatever." They got their guard down, and then boom, out of nowhere, Houston pulls out their wild card with what's his name? The backup quarterback that uses his legs. Oh my gosh.
Driscoll.
I forgot. Huh?
Texans, right? Driscoll? Something?
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Driscoll. Yeah, Jeff Driscoll. There you go. They were calling him like the secret weapon and whatever, and they were kind of struggling. And with this game, the run game, it was dominating the Cowboys defense. And then on the offensive side, you had Prescott throwing 2 interceptions. Again, I don't really fault them all the way for that because there was one where I think it was Noah Brown. It was right in his hands and it just bounced off.
See,
right?
Dak
I think that
Prescott
was the
also
overtime
is like a little sus lately. I mean, again, I know it's Kellen Moore.
That wasn't his fault.
No.
though.
No.
But Kellen Moore seems to not understand when he makes Dak Prescott play or be the hero,
Exactly.
things go backwards for the team. And
Not all the time.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to disagree with you there. Not all the
okay,
time.
let me correct this. When they let Dak Prescott play hero against crappy teams, they lose.
When they shy away from the run game, they lose.
Yeah, I've seen Dak win in the fourth quarter, but if you give the ball to Dak and be able to and start throwing the ball throughout the game, like second or third quarter, that's when he starts struggling. If you move away from the running game, I mean, if we can see it, and we're not coaches, it just boggles the mind of why Kellen Moore does it this way.
Okay, now let me bring up something interesting before we move on to the last topics, which are the games. We're kind of putting Prescott as if like, oh, he needs to be in a very specific scenario for him to play good. Should they move on from him?
Oh man, I think that's a really big topic that we should say. But if you want me to say just a quick thought on that, I don't think so. I blame more the coaching staff, Mike McCarthy, for allowing this to happen, to continue to happen, and Kellen Moore to move away from the game plan. If, like I said, if we can all see what works and they just don't continue with it, I think that's the problem. I think it's extremely hard to find a franchise quarterback. I'm not saying Dak is a completely awesome quarterback. He can be top like number 10 and top 10 or 11 or 12, but that's 32 teams. So it's not that easy just to, even if he's top 15, like 13, 14, like it's still not, you can still win with with that type of quarterback.
My take is I'm going to kind of compare it to like everyday life or like personal life. So if you're like dating someone, you're a boyfriend or girlfriend, whoever what gender you like. But if you're out and about and you're at dinner, you never know when you're going to meet your next future partner. So my advice to the Cowboys is to keep searching before they move on. I don't think Dak is the answer right now, but he's an okay, safe answer.
I don't like that scenario that you just painted, honestly, because What if that person that you go on a date with is the person, but your like eyes are like looking somewhere else, and maybe that one is better, maybe that one is better, maybe that one is better.
I'm just saying,
and that person that's in front of you is actually the one that can make you happy or whatever in your relationship.
It was just an example, but
No,
I'm just saying, you never know when you find your future husband or wife.
I just threw the example towards you based on quarterbacks. You may have the quarterback that can take you to the Super Bowl right in front of you. You just have to try to mold it and try to make it as best as you can to get there and help this person. Give them the resources to get there.
I'm sorry, I think I triggered something.
I'm just saying, it's because the same thing happened with Tony Romo. The same thing happened with Tony Romo. If Prescott is seeing that
whenever you're shopping around for another quarterback, that quarterback's gonna be like, "What? You don't want me?"
Yeah,
like
that too.
Is it like I want out of here, dude? So if they start raising, those
that's
questions,
exactly what happened with Tony Romo. You brought him up. Tony Romo, he was the quarterback. Hey, we're still, you're still our guy. But they're still drafting quarterbacks in the NFL. It's not like they stop.
Yeah, but you don't draft a quarterback in the first round
I didn't
like
say that.
Green Bay Packers.
I did not say that. I just said keep looking.
Same thing with the Eagles situation. Whenever Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz, very controversial situation.
Yeah.
And here we saw Carson Wentz going out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, well, Carson Wentz got beat up by Kirk Cousins and Jalen
I still
Hurts.
think Carson Wentz, if he didn't get injured, he could have still won that Super Bowl. Well, I think it was his rookie year or his second year that they won the Super Bowl with Foles. I still think that Carson Wentz could have won it.
Who knows?
Well, it doesn't matter. They won anyways.
Yeah.
So, all right, Week 16 previews. We're getting close to the end. Things are starting to, I guess, for a lot of teams that are barely out or barely in, they got to be very careful with these games. But Andy, why don't you take over with our Week 16 previews?
Yeah, definitely. Week 16, we're really close to the end of the line. This is the time where the big fish start showing up to make sure that they can have become contenders to go and get that Super Bowl. So
yeah, it's a time where the players, they have to, if they want to get to heaven, they have to die.
Oh, dang, what's up with you and your scenarios? It's hardcore. Jeez. All right, moving on from that. Let's start off with Thursday night. We actually have Yams Jets against the Jaguars. Who you guys got?
Jets, Jets. I think they take the win this time. It's been far too long. They've lost 3 in a row. They're going to get it right this time. Jets.
I think I'm going to go with the Jaguars. They show how good they are against the Cowboys. They're getting better every week, and I trust more Trevor Lawrence than Zach Wilson. Go Jaguars.
Ooh.
Wow.
You said that with confidence, too.
Just throw
you put an
dagger
emphasis to that
too.
one. Go Jaguars. This is a coin toss for me. And I'm not losing confidence in the Jets. It's just if Zach Wilson is in again, I just don't see them winning. I think it's a different game if Mike White is in than with Zach Wilson. Also, Quinnen Williams, right? We have to make sure he's healthy and good to go. But yeah, I think for one of the few times I'm going with the Jaguars here.
My heart's falling.
Sorry.
Lions against the Panthers. Who you guys got?
Lions.
Just like that?
Yeah,
all right,
like that.
okay.
I hate them right now.
Yeah, you're hurt. I'm thinking the Lions too. The Panthers just folded against the Pittsburgh Steelers with Mitch Trubisky. And the Lions, they've been having a hot streak right now, and I don't think it's going to end against the Panthers, so the Lions.
This is a really good opportunity for the Lions here. They need to show that they're a better team than they were at the very beginning, losing a lot of games. Now they've shifted their mindset. They've turned this whole boat around, and now they're uphill. And I think, with the Panthers struggling, man, that team's a disaster. This isn't a good win for the Lions.
The Seattle Seahawks against the Chiefs. Who do you guys got?
This is kind of easy, no? It's Kansas City.
I wouldn't say it's that easy. The Chiefs really struggled against the Houston Texans. Say what you say about the Texans. I mean, they can be sort of a good team, but it's going to be pretty close. I'm still taking the Chiefs just because of the quarterback, and it's
at Arrowhead.
Yeah, it's at Arrowhead, so I'm going to take the Chiefs at home.
Yeah, it's not easy. If the Seahawks can get their running game going, they should be pretty good. Aside from that, everything else kind of points towards the Chiefs. It's just what we would all think it would be. It would be an easy game for them, but the Houston made them struggle. It's because Houston, I feel like when they're defending against the pass, they're pretty good. Aside from that, it's all kind of disaster. But anyways, the Chiefs have this one, I think, against Seahawks.
Dallas Cowboys against the Philadelphia Eagles. Who you guys got?
Well, Is Jalen Hurts completely out for this game, or is it still
we don't know
questionable?
yet. It's still up in the air.
Well,
It's not confirmed,
confirmed.
but it's
Well,
more likely that he's out.
Well, if he gets to play, I'm gonna choose the Eagles. If he doesn't, then I say Dallas.
Yeah, completely. If Jalen Hurts plays, he's the X factor there with the Philadelphia Eagles. If he's out, then that defense of the Cowboys is just going to roll over Gardner Minshew. So I'm picking the Eagles if Jalen Hurts is in.
I can totally see a scenario to where if Jalen Hurts plays, the Cowboys win. If Minshew plays, the Cowboys lose, because that's just something the Cowboys would do. So I'm going with that scenario. If Minshew plays, they lose. The Cowboys lose. If Hurts goes down, or he's not playing, I think the Cowboys win.
Las Vegas Raiders against the Steelers. Who you guys got?
Raider Nation, here we come. I think they win against the Steelers.
Yeah, Viva Las Raiders. Honestly, I think the Raiders are going to beat the Steelers. I know they just won with Mitch Trubisky against the Panthers, but the Raiders are going to just play a little bit harder because they're trying to get that playoff spot.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially with the scenario that the Steelers are in. I think the Raiders have more reason to, especially because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Raiders are 4-1 in like the last 5 weeks. So they're on a good momentum after this crazy win against New England, and I can see them winning this pretty comfortably as well.
The Denver Broncos against the Rams. Who you guys got?
Is Baker Mayfield in here? We're just going to choose the Rams just because Denver, I don't even know if Russell Wilson is in or what's going on with him, but I don't know. I think it's better if he doesn't play because they won last time. But anyways, the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams. Broncos, I don't know if Russell Wilson is still going to be playing. If he does play, I'm still going to pick the Rams because just that offense for the Broncos is just looking horrible. And hopefully Russell Wilson can turn it around next year.
The Broncos did win against Arizona, and it was a pretty good win. And the Rams won against the Raiders, 17-16. That was their last game, at least right now. For the Broncos, the defense is easily the highlight of them. And then for the Raiders, it's just kind of a mixed bag. You can get the offense to really perform, but they have Darren Waller back, and if I'm not mistaken, he had a pretty good game. So it's going to be close here with the Rams because of the defense struggling as well, even though they shouldn't be. I think I have the Rams with this one. It's a weird game for sure. Probably boring.
Yeah. The Green Bay Packers against the Dolphins. Who you guys got?
Miami. Miami has this in the bag, I think. Green Bay Packers are not a good team, but the Miami defense is also kind of sus.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm obviously rooting for Green Bay in this scenario, but I think for the bets, Miami.
Yeah, I'm picking Miami too. Green Bay. Even Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. Let me start over.
Are you okay?
I'm like choking up in here. So I think the Dolphins are going to beat the Green Bay Packers because the Dolphins are first of all, they're in the playoff. The Dolphins right now. Green Bay, they're struggling too much, and they don't have too many offensive weapons. So I think the Dolphins, with their offensive weapons, can take over that Green Bay. Not totally horrible defense, but I think the Dolphins will take it.
They're playing in Miami. Really nice weather so far. It says it's going to be 65 degrees. They had a good run against Buffalo, Miami, and they're on a tough 3-loss streak. And 2 of them have been against really good teams. The Chargers, man, they've been struggling, but Miami needs to win to secure their spots. They, I think, have bigger and better motivations than the Packers. So I have the Dolphins winning this because they're just simply better, like I said, and they just have a better reason to win, and I think they'll have that motivation to finally get a win after a 3-loss streak.
Sunday Night Football, the Cardinals against the Buccaneers, the Tom Brady Buccaneers. Who you guys got?
Tom Brady against Cardinals. I'll take that and probably put $1,000 on that. This Cardinals team is such a mess, such a mess. We'll talk about it after the game picks, but they're really just a big mess.
Yeah, the Cardinals, I don't even know if Colt McCoy's even playing. McSorley didn't play well at all. And the Buccaneers, it's Tom Brady. They're trying to still solidify that division playoff spot. So I'm going to take Tom Brady.
So they're playing in Arizona, in Glendale. And you got the tickets as low as $55 to see Tom Brady.
I'd go.
That's just crazy to me, first of all.
That is pretty crazy.
That's just crazy.
That
so that tells you about the
inflation was
Buccaneers.
like, I don't give a Yeah, I don't give. I don't care about this game.
That just tells you about the Buccaneers, and this is going to be an ugly game, but the Buccaneers should win this because the quarterback scenario is the difference maker here. I think the Buccaneers win this.
Monday Night Football, the Colts against the Chargers. Who you guys got?
Well, unless the Colts have another game to blow, a lead to blow, I think it's going to be Chargers game.
Yeah, Chargers. They are actually going to go into the playoffs. It's the Herbert with Allen, with Eckler. And that defense, I believe their injured players are coming back. So I'm going to take the Chargers.
Yeah, I take the Chargers as well. They're playing in, what's it called? In Indianapolis. It's just, it's something that they should win. And if they struggle, I wouldn't be surprised. But they should lock in their playoff spot as well. And I think they definitely have this one after, they're going to continue on that win streak that they have. They have 2 wins against Miami right now in Tennessee. And against the Colts, it should be something that they for sure can do. I think the Colts can possibly do another blowing the lead situation here.
All right, that is all the games for Week 16.
Awesome. Real quick, what are your thoughts on the Arizona Cardinals getting it wrong on the wrong coach for that sexual harassment in Mexico?
Well, we don't know that if it's confirmed. They do look alike. I would give you that. They do look alike. But if they...
Yeah, a GM has more of a creepy face, like creeper type of,
Yeah, well, just to give a little context, one of the coaches for the Cardinals got let go after they played in Mexico City. And supposedly there were some rumors that it's because of some faulty play with some Mexican women, and they just let him go. Whatever the Cardinals heard, they just let him go right there on the spot. But now it's coming out and that the GM, looking a lot like the coach for the Cardinals, that it could have been him, and they just had a mistaken of identity, which is hilarious.
Oh my gosh! No way!
Yeah, it's hilarious, and it just shows how I've been telling you guys in this podcast how of a dysfunction the Arizona Cardinals organization is. Maybe they have to think about changing ownership, because just like the Washington Commanders, this organization is a mess.
Agreed.
Wow. I did not know that. Hard Knocks is going to be interesting, even though they're not really talking about it. They talked about it in the episode.
Yeah, they talked about it very briefly, but they just didn't really go into too much context of what happened.
Now, are they going to allow HBO to dig into it?
Oh, man.
Because it'll take away.
I really, really hope they do. That shows on the contract, HBO's like, hey, I'm going to talk about whatever I see, man. That would be super cool. It would bring up their ratings for sure.
Yeah, and it would probably be good for the team if they dig up, whatever they find. And maybe this is something that would be good for the team in the future, and maybe they could make some big changes and have this team turn around and actually start improving with whatever they have within the coaching staff and the management, all that kind of stuff. Have you guys been keeping up with it?
That's the last that I've heard of it, and that was late last week, so we'll see.
I didn't know. That's crazy. All right, yeah, that's going to be it. We're getting close to the end here, guys, with football, at least the regular season being over. The playoffs are inching closer and closer. Games are going to start to matter a lot. They do matter, actually. I should be saying that. And they're going to be fun, especially that Cowboys versus Eagles. A lot of these games, it's something to keep their eye on, because this is what determines who's going to be in the wild card and who's not. We already got some of the teams who've locked in their playoff berths, but some of them, they're not guaranteed. So we'll see what happens, but in the meantime, that's going to be it for this episode of the Football Tailgaters. We appreciate anyone that's made it to the end, and we hope to see you guys interacting with us on our social media, which is Football Tailgaters on YouTube, and then on Instagram and TikTok, it's football_tailgaters. We'd love to see you guys interacting with us whenever we post our clips about our podcasts. You can see anything that we have entertaining on there, and don't forget to miss our episodes. We post every week. So, yeah, until next episode, thank you guys for listening.
All right.
Thank you.